start the show yet. Let's begin then.
Akbar, did you catch the UFC over the weekend?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I watched the main card. It's it's good. It's good. Some good scraps.
So, what was your feeling on the main event? Because that's where all the conversation's going with the controversy. You've had a lot of people like Rogan and a lot of talk on the internet where people are saying that Volkanovski won the fight.
Yeah, well, I think Makhachev won it quite well. Not clearly, because obviously it was a close fight, but he won most of the rounds. You know what I mean? The majority of the rounds, of a 5-round fight, went to him. So I think he was deserving to win. You know, to win the fight, but it was close.
I think people thought that he was going to go in and just clean up the way he did with Charles, isn't it? Do you see what I mean?
100%.
Just go in and do what he did with Oliveira, thinking, because I think a lot of people thought about the size difference and thought to themselves that he's just going to go in, take him down and take him out, not understanding the fact that you're dealing with a guy like in Volkanovski who used to be 90-something kg when he was playing rugby and then stripped himself down to that 65 kg weight, where people that fight him say that he's like he's a cardio machine, but he's also a strength monster, isn't he? When he gets in there. So,
well, Islam just found that out, didn't he, firsthand?
Yeah, he found out. It's a wrestler's nightmare, though, isn't it? Submission fighter's nightmare. The guy with the short limbs, who's a cardio machine, but also the fact that if you're trying to get that submission on someone with short limbs, if the guy's got the strength and the cardio, like you saw what he was doing. He was letting Makhachev take him down and then letting him take his back, which is like, if it was anyone else, it'd be the biggest no-no, wouldn't it? But because he's there and you've got he's got the short neck, the short arms, he's able to use his hands to keep his defense there and get back up to his feet. Yeah, and if anyone had said to you, okay, that's a strategy that I'm going to use, you'd say, okay, it's insane. Yeah, I'm going to let the guy take my back, especially someone who's as proficient as Islam when it comes to grappling. I mean, if you said Islam was a grappling master, that's not understating the fact, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
But I think with this, the big lesson for everyone is that part of the conversations we were involved in before the fight were about the fact that he's fighting someone shorter than him who's strong, and it comes down to that. Anyone that knows grappling or knows wrestling knows that there's that advantage that comes in with strength, cardio, and the short limbs, as we were saying. You see what I mean? But what were your thoughts on Makhachev being shown to be mortal?
Well, I thought most people thought that he would go in there and dominate the fight. You know, even as good as Alex is, I just don't think that they thought that he would put up such a fight that he did. So his stock is raised even with a loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think people will give him the utmost credit. Right now, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, there's no one that's going to be able to beat him in the featherweight division. That's pretty much for sure now. Yeah. Like if he can't, if he's done that well in the lightweight division, then there really is nobody in the featherweight division that will be able to touch him. So his stock has risen. I've never really seen it rise so much with a loss, but that really has done wonders for his stock for sure. People are really going to know who he is, and I'm looking forward to his next fight, especially if he's fighting the Mexican.
It's like Rodriguez now, isn't it?
Yeah. I was trying to pronounce his name. Yeah.
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 Come, bro. We can't. Two brown brothers taking the mick out of a Mexican name doesn't look good. Yeah, I mean,
we just call him Rodriguez. Rodriguez, nice and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I can say that. So yeah, that would be a good fight. That would be a good scrap. So yeah, man.
I think with Volkanovski, yeah, it's like my new favorite term. I was watching. I did the John Wick marathon the other day, and one thing that I took away from it was the guy does the description. He goes, "He's a man of sheer will," and they repeat it all the way through. And I was like, "Oh, it's really good, sheer will." And that's what I thought about while seeing Volkanovski in action was the fact that for that fight I'm talking about, not not all the way through. I mean, there's one of the fights against Holloway, I thought Holloway should have got it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously the last one, he came back and he took that fight.
For sure.
But one of the things that Volkanovski had, and I don't think Islam is weak in that area, but for this fight, there was something that he'll go back and he'll work on that in the gym. Yeah.
Yeah.
The will. Do you see what I mean? When it came down to will, Volkanovski, I'm not talking about he won the fight, like he won like that, but if it from the battle of wills aspect, Volkanovski came out on top. He had that
tenacity.
His will seemed the tenacity. His will seemed stronger in that fight, which is something that I found interesting because that's something that you never found lacking with Khabib. You never found will lacking with Khabib, but maybe we can talk about it from the perspective of the hostile environment in Australia. I mean, that was a hostile crowd. Yeah. I mean, there's hostile crowds, and then there's like watching this, and you're thinking to yourself, it's like the whole stadium was screaming for Volkanovski, and the negative energy just bearing down on Islam was phenomenal. And I think that would have had an effect in charging Volkanovski, obviously, with that extra strength and will. And in front of an audience, it's like that. It drains you anyway. Anyone who's fought knows that it drains you. There's something, it's a different thing. It's like, I always say, it's like, if you had a problem with someone and you wait to fight them, it's fine in a cage behind closed doors. There's no, but if you stick an audience there and everything else, you change the whole chemistry of the game. Do you see what I mean? It's like, and obviously we're talking about competition here and everything the person's whole value within themselves, even if they're not saying it like that. That both of these guys went in, both of them with their reputations on the line. And I think at the end of it, Volkanovski, he came out on top, as in, even though he didn't win it, he still won it, didn't he? Do you see what I mean? There was still, he came out, his brand went up. And I think with Islam, there's that thing where people that would have been afraid of him or were afraid of him watched and thought to themselves, oh, actually, I might be able to do something. But what they don't realize is when you give a man an excuse to go back to the drawing board, you go back harder, don't you?
For sure. Do
you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially, I'm going to have to bring out the Muslim card here, especially when you give us boys the excuse to go back to the drawing board. The whole world's the drawing board, isn't it? It's always about self-improvement. So it's going to be this thing where go back to that gym and knuckle down and get your head right, isn't it? Do you see what I mean? But
100%.
I have to say with this thing, though, that what it's brought out with this is that Volkanovski's one to watch, isn't he? Because what happens when he jumps up? Because there's got to be that thought process going through his mind right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once he clears up his division,
Yeah.
jumping up to the next one.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Like, if you where would you take Islam out and say he wasn't in, and say it was Oliveira instead? What do you reckon would have happened?
I think that would be a good fight, because obviously
exactly.
Oliveira's striking is at a higher level than Islam, so I feel like the striking will play quite a big role in the fight. That's my opinion. But again, it's one of them ones that you'd have to see. Obviously, his groundwork is excellent as well. His wrestling is different. You know what I mean? He's more of a jiu-jitsu sort of guy, but it's more than enough not to worry about being taken down or to take Volkanovski down. But I think the striking will play quite a big hand in that fight, and I reckon he would have enough to
because of,
in my opinion.
From a legs perspective, you're talking about with Oliveira, in terms of the way he mixes up all the 8 limbs, I'd speak, with the boxing, the knees, the elbow.
100%. His striking is on quite a much higher level than both of those guys. So I think if we fought Volkanovski, I think that would play quite a major role in it, big time. Because Islam couldn't get it done with the strikes, He couldn't get it done with the strikes. He was doing good with the strikes, but he's not a hard enough puncher. You know what I mean? He's not a hard enough puncher to make them strikes count. And that seems to be the problem. He drops him a couple of times, but they weren't enough to put him out.
But you know what? I think that the other point with this is a lot of people underestimate that when you're training, you're always punching at shoulder level. Or above. Yeah. So like what we talked about before with certain fighters, if they're fighting taller fighters, taking advantage of the fact that if you drop below shoulder level, a lot of people aren't, that no one's really training to be able to punch someone who's moving and coming in at you at just under that shoulder level, which is, if you watch how Volkanovski is coming in and off the line. Do you see what I mean? And that thing there, you got to remember, like with a lot of the MMA guys, they fight linear. Do you see what I mean? It's like straight lines, and those straight lines are often fighting against someone their own height. Do you see what I mean? And what Volkanovski's doing is he's coming in and coming underneath. And this was interesting as well, because you had Islam fighting in a southpaw stance. To try and take advantage of that gap. The gap on one side. Do you see what I mean? So I think it'd be an interesting one to see how Oliveira would be able to, like, if he could take that force coming onto him. Do you see what I mean? Because if you notice what happened with him against Islam, remember Islam tagged him and dropped him. So in that gap. So this, like, remember that pause flow that I talked to you about, where the guys they're not flowing with the boxing, they're pausing. There's a little adjustment going on, and that little adjustment, that's where guys like Volkanovski, they'll be hip to hip with you, tagging you at that time. Do you see what I mean? So I'd be interested. I'd be interested to see that, because watching this, there was a lot going on in there where I was thinking to myself, okay, it's going to be interesting when this guy goes up. Do you see what I mean? When they do put him up against other guys, it's guys like Poirier and people like that. You see, like Poirier wouldn't be able to muck about like that against. You see what I mean? You got that. You got boxing going on. There's a difference between boxing and like the Thai boxing. As much as I love those shoot box guys, it's still that shoot box style, isn't it? Do you see what I mean? It's still that straight line shoot box style that it works, but if you know what you're looking at, you can see when they get taken. You can see when they get taken, ain't it? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Let's see if he goes up. He's got his own division, but you know there's fights for him to be had there. So let's see if he steps up and hangs around up there for a bit longer. But I think he's going straight back down. He's got this Rodriguez fight. Get that out of the way, and then probably see where he goes from there. You know, see what other contenders emerge. If not, he could go back up and fight one of these guys. So. Yeah, man. There's a lot
it's
to.
All good news, all entertainment, isn't it? So
this is it, man. This is it. That's what we're here for. You know, this is what we're here for.
It.
So yeah, man.
Exciting times ahead, ain't it? Do you know what I mean? So
100%. Yeah, a lot. I look forward to the next one. You know what I mean? I don't know who's coming up next on the UFC agenda. I'm sure there's a fight this week, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to.
We'll be giving our little breakdown on the entertaining ones anyway. So do you know what I mean? Watch this spot. So
you know it. Love it.
Okay, bro. I'm gonna catch up with you later on.
Wicked, man. I love chopping it up. So yeah, man. Till the next time.
Next time. Take care.
Yeah, buddy. Take it easy.